Hello and welcome back to the FEH banner review, where we talk about coming up with solutions to non-existent problems. What is this non-existent problem, you might be wondering? Well, how about you watch the video and find out? Today, we have a brand new legendary banner featuring Sakura, who is in fact not a backpack for the third time in a row. A welcoming surprise to all Sakura fans and some disheartening news to people who like backpacks. And as per tradition, I will be using this coveted small line graph that may or may not be small at the end of the day to rank the brand new legendary banner. Today's ranking will be based on how many spaces modern Fire Emblem Heroes units can warp to now, and you should consider warping to that subscribe button so you can subscribe. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say, so I'm just gonna start the video now. I'm gonna start talking about Sakura. Our legendary hero for this month is none other than Sakura, who you may remember from the hit Fire Emblem game Fire Emblem Fates, or rather hit you over the head Fire Emblem game with its bad writing. Because it's shit. From a generic base alt to a Halloween alt with no PRF to a bath alt that we will never ever speak of again to getting 2 backpacks in a row, she finally got her own premium version with a PRF to boot. And after reading through her kit, you'll wish she remained PRF-less, but that's spoilers, forget I said that. Let's see, Legendary Sakura comes with Salvage, which is a slaying, dazzling staff that grants a bunch of attack and speed during combat, true damage based on the foe's attack, full no follow-up, guard nullification, start of turn bonuses to herself and allies, which includes visible attack and speed, the orders effect, and a new status in Salvage, and any ally with the new Salvage status can warp to Sakura if they are within 6 spaces of her after triggering Kanto. As for the bonus itself, Salvage grants flat Kanto too and effectively nerfs Kanto control by allowing any range 1 unit to move 2 spaces instead of 1, and any range 1 unit to move 1 space instead of 0. You know, I was just thinking to myself, man, I sure am struggling with Leyrother, Emblem Lyn, Valentine's Rhea, any unit released in the past 2 months. I really wish IS would release a solution to these units. And they heard me nice and clear and decided to ignore me entirely. You know what the game needs less of? Kanto control. Here's a Kanto control counter, go f*** yourself. Honestly, it's kinda crazy because I feel like this was the last thing that needed a counter. It's already so difficult to slot in Kanto control these days when most of the infantry being ran already have pure FC slots on top of being a competitive slot as is. I figured if anything, with all the Kanto and hit and run stuff that's been released as of late, they'd at least attempt to salvage it, if you catch my drift.
I am Sigurd.
Did you know that Emblem Sigurd effectively has 13 movement now? He can move 5 spaces with Gallop, use Override, take another action to do whatever he wants, then he could teleport within 2 spaces of Legendary Sakura if he's within 6 spaces of her. Game design is my passion. At least with it being a visible buff, it can be negated by 1 unit in the entire game, so there's that at least. That said, it's not like Kanto control was doing much in the face of Emblem Lyn when she doesn't even have to approach whatsoever. But how often are you gonna run into Emblem Lyn anyway? Please don't answer that. The funny thing about this too is that skills like Barricade and anything with anti-warp don't work against Salvage because it only prevents units from warping near the foe in any of those spaces, not necessarily getting out of those spaces. So it's basically as free as it possibly gets until we get a new skill or effect that prevents that from working. And then the cycle goes on and 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 on. I can't say I've ever been a fan of this thing that once worked no longer works game design. It's kind of why the state of the game is the way it is currently, but at least it's not a yearly thing with the game, right? These two had it coming to them. Man, that salvage status sure is something, ain't it? Well, if you thought that was bad, then you're gonna need to find a better word to describe it because this isn't even the half of it. Well, it's technically half of it, but there's more to it than just this because, you know, she has a PRF skill, and you know what? I'm just gonna move on. Legendary Sakura also comes with a PRFC skill in Quiet Strength, which is surprisingly not longer than the weapon in text length. Surely that's a good sign to come. Let's see. Quiet Strength grants Spectrum 5, 7 true damage, 7 true damage reduction, and a special jump of 1 to allies either with the salvage status or for anybody within 2 spaces of Sakura, while also granting Sakura herself 5 additional attack and speed during combat, penalty neutralization to attack and speed during combat, 7 true damage, 7 true damage reduction, a special jump of 1, and 50% damage reduction piercing. Surely that's a good sign to come. Just kidding, I lied. And here I thought the weapon was already stacked as is. The extra stuff you get for having the salvage status is kinda nuts and really just highlights how much Sakura offers as a unit. This would put a Victorian-era child into a coma, let alone a launch player. The fact that this can also be map-wide as well is just the added cherry on top of it all. Imagine pairing this up with a Celica Ring user who could teleport in, get all those bonuses for initiating, then teleport back to Sakura with essentially no counterplay. Now imagine that you forgot what I just said so I don't have to end up dealing with it myself. Also, not to mention, it just lets Sakura contribute beyond support, which can be pretty scary. Even if she can't beat units like Neathhogger, she can still inflict gravity with Lin Ring and Holy Pressure, which is extra utility on top of the 20 other things this unit does, because that sure is modern day Fire Emblem heroes. It's not like any armor would be able to counter back anyway since she has Dazzling. Except Ice Fjorm, but she's like 5 months old, which means she's kinda bad now. That said, it's kinda funny that they gave true damage reduction to a unit that won't be taking damage in most scenarios, but assuming she did, it's not like 7 true damage reduction is gonna save her. The moment anything with a weapon equipped initiates onto her, she's gonna... And yeah, sure, yep. I like Sakura's attacking animation. Sakura also comes with Ice Lock Plus, Holy Pressure, Sway Attack Speed, and a brand new Live to Serve skill in Called to Serve. Ooh. Called to Serve has no resemblance to Live to Serve, as it now grants the Neutralize Foes bonuses status to the unit, targets, and any ally within 2 spaces, grants 5 true damage to anybody with the status regardless of where you are on the map, and the user also gets upwards of 15 extra true damage and debuff speed and res during combat. Okay, so to recap, Legendary Sakura allows allies to ignore cancer control, or basically across the entire map, gives out a bunch of stats, true damage reduction, bonus neutralization, special jumps, the order status, all while being able to set up ice terrain and take multiple actions in one turn. Yeah, it's alright. Her combat isn't anything to scoff at either. Look at her killing this 8-month-old unit.
Do you mind?
Okay, I joke, but like, Micaiah debuffs a billion attack and res during combat while also having absurdly high res, so this is kind of impressive. Also, I want to say that the buffs healers have been getting as of late are pretty cool. They got Ice Lock Plus, Sway, and now Called to Serve on top of whatever C slots and echo skills they have access to. If you asked me about healer units in the past, I would have said that healers were super bad units before all these new skills dropped. And I would still say that now, but you know, they're at least pretty usable nowadays. Unless you're an armor healer, they're still extremely awful. And all of this can be yours for the low price of summoning on this terrible banner. Okay, so Sakura is sharing with Rearm's Layla, who's pretty good, and Eichbanir, who's pretty not good. Well, he's not bad, but if you already have a copy of him, then he doesn't really offer much beyond merges since his fodder isn't really that amazing, so that kinda sucks. And assuming you don't get any colorless orbs, you then gotta fight through the 3 layers of hell and pray to whatever god you worship that you don't get pity broken. Featuring Nerthuz, who's trash, Renatosker, who's trash, Rustfelger, who's actually not that bad, but she shares with the other 2, so it's trash. Marin, who's okay. Dagger, who's great. Alentia, who's the opposite of great. I think there was a term for that. Oh, right. Trash. Rearmed Lilina, who's trash but has good fodder, so it's not actually that trash. Corin, who's even worse than trash. And Hathorn, who's really broken but he's sharing with Corin, which, say it with me, it's trash. And yeah, the banner isn't great, but you know who's great? Legendary Sakura. She's great. Too great, in fact. I can't wait to hate playing this game even more than I do. Oh. And now that we've gone over the brand new legendary unit, I think it's time we rank the banner on the small line graph that may or may not be small at the end of the day. And would you look at that? The brand new legendary banner has earned an 8 out of 10 on the small line graph. What a phenomenal score for those who like the number 8. And a very disappointing score for those who like the number 9. Still, a good score nonetheless. And you may be wondering to yourself, if Sakura is a legendary unit, then who's driving the car? The answer, potentially yes. Legendary Sakura is absurd on so many levels that I question whether she's gonna shift the landscape of the game to a significant degree or not. That said, we still have the Rhea banner, the Valentine's banner, with Rhea on it. Did you know she's also really absurd? We also do have the upcoming spring banner, which might have some good stuff on it, and the Hero Rises if you care about that as well. Not to mention the color share is not that good unless you happen to like Ike Beneer. And yeah, Layla's there and she's great, but you know, it only takes one bad unit to ruin the share, TBH. 2BH. To be quite H. You might be better off waiting for her rerun in April, because the share is probably better. How is it worse? You know what? Just summon for her now. She's stupid.